afternoon and welcome to the holiday edition of Pan-African News on Pan-African Television. My name is Abena, Dede, Narkie. We are live across 46 African countries and some part of Europe. We're also live on Facebook at Pan-African Television. The news, our headlines for this afternoon. Now, Christians usher in Easter celebrations with church services, but how are Ghanaians celebrating the season in the midst of COVID-19 restrictions and protocols? President Akufo-Addo cautions Ghanaians to celebrate Easter within the confines of COVID-19 restrictions and protocols. Ghana Grid Company to come out with programmed outages as it prepares to build a more resilient power system. And business players in the hotel industry appeal for Ghana interventions to revive threatened industry due to COVID-19 restrictions. Now we have details of these stories and some others coming up in the next 1 hour. Don't go anywhere. Television with me, Abena, Dede, Narkie. The news in detail. President Akufo-Addo has urged Ghanaians to adhere strictly to all COVID-19 protocols. Now, this was contained in the President's Easter message to Ghanaians.
Fellow Ghanaians, I bring you warm greetings from Jubilee House, the seat of our nation's presidency. Easter is upon us once again, and with it comes a solemn yet very important reminder of the death and resurrection of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Due to the onset of the pandemic, we had a muted Easter celebration, and we all agreed that the usual festivities associated with Easter had to be cancelled. We were faced with an unknown foe, and we therefore had to take the difficult but necessary decisions to protect our lives and livelihoods. 1 year on, COVID-19 is still with us, even though we continue to adhere to the mask wearing and enhanced hygiene protocols. We began a vaccination campaign with some 600,000 persons vaccinated. We expect that in the course of the coming week, an additional 300,000 vaccines which we have purchased would have arrived in the country for deployment. Our target is to vaccinate 20 million persons by the end of the year. In other words, the whole adult population of Ghana. Whilst the vaccination campaign is going on, the number of active cases, which stood at over 7,000 a few weeks ago, is on a steady decline. We're by no means out of the woods, and so we'll have to endure this year another quiet Easter, devoid of public gatherings and the merry-making that characterize this season. There will therefore be no Easter conventions, Easter picnics, parties, or gatherings at the beaches. Church services must be held for a maximum of 2 hours. The requisite social distancing rules must be strictly obeyed. Nightclubs, cinemas, and pubs continue to be closed. Funerals, concerts, theatrical performances, and parties are banned. Private burials with no more than 25 people can take place with the enforcement of the social distancing, hygiene, and mask-wearing protocols. Spectators are still banned from going to the stadia to watch football matches. The police service will ensure strict conformity to these restrictions, and anyone found to be flouting them will be dealt with in accordance with law. Government, together with the security services, will make sure that this time these gains are protected. Let us be each other's keeper until COVID-19 is eradicated and poses no more threats to our lives and livelihoods. I know that as a result of the pandemic and its impact on the economy, things are not what we would like as far as the economy is concerned. We have, however, outlined a series of measures which I am confident will begin the revival and revitalization of the economy. And the rapid growth of the economy which we witnessed before the pandemic will be back again. The future is bright. Year in, year out, accidents on our roads have been tragically a part of the celebration of Easter. This year, we must do everything possible to reduce this occurrence to the barest minimum. The Motor Traffic and Transport Department of the Police Service has reiterated its determination to enforce the road traffic laws and regulations. And it is my hope that this Easter will be celebrated without any road accidents. Let us help them in this endeavor by minimizing our speed, taking due precaution for other road users, driving without the influence of alcohol, and wearing our seatbelts. Like we have done with the COVID-19 safety protocols, let us also embrace a positive road safety culture that keeps our families and nation safe. Fellow Ghanaians, I know this is not how we wanted to celebrate Easter. However, just like Christ rose again on the third day, I'm sure that Ghana and indeed the whole world will rise again. As we celebrate Christ's victory over sin, death, and the grave, let us observe all safety protocols and stay safe.
Now, every year during Easter festivities, Ghanaians travel to their various hometowns to celebrate the Easter festivities with friends and families back home. However, the coronavirus pandemic has changed all this with travel restrictions. The news team visited some transport terminals to find out if the public are traveling against all advice. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, the public has been advised to ensure that Easter is celebrated within the various COVID-19 protocols and restrictions. These include travel advice and the caution against traveling to various destinations across the country. However, our rounds to some transport terminals indicated many Ghanaians are traveling. At the VIP bus terminal at Circle, the station manager at the Cabre Frimpong Manso indicated that the terminal is bustling with travelers.
Oh, it's been somewhat brisk, but unlike previous Easter periods, this is not that strong and buoyant. But at least we've had brisk business coming through in the last 24 hours. We've done almost 100 buses movements out of Accra, and in and out we could be looking at up to 200 buses. Oh, basically, a year ago this time we were in lockdown. If we are to look at the figures before the lockdown, we could be doing 50% of those figures in 2020.
Management at the terminal said they are ensuring strict adherence to COVID-19 protocols.
Sure. VIP is a law-abiding company, and we believe that the President of the Republic had brought about the COVID protocols through an executive instrument. So we have no choice than to follow same. And we were part of the transport operators who agreed on a 14-point communique that spelled out what we should be doing. That made it a point that anybody who visited our terminal, be a user of a facility or a traveler on board our bus, has to wear their nose mask and also sanitize their hands before they are even allowed to buy tickets, before they are allowed to get on board the coaches. So yes, surely 100, zero tolerance for refusal to follow the protocols. Basically, we would always want to have persons traveling on board our buses, and if we are following the COVID protocols and ensuring that people also follow same, even when you have left our premises, we take it that an insignificant number of Ghanaians have just been vaccinated, and for that matter, nobody should believe that because of vaccination you could relax or lose your guard. So we urge all and sundry to follow the protocols.
Some passengers at the bus terminal gave reasons they are traveling and the preparation they have made ahead of a celebration.
I'm just traveling for a traveling sake. Okay, actually, my church, we don't celebrate Easter. So, yeah, I'm not part of those who are going to celebrate.
To tell me the actual question, say, maybe be a kama. And you bet to be so now, you buy a mobile free corona home. The meme share my no. I no cry. But meme dear, Madame for people kwa honum, me kwa kwasrano. Se me ko kumasa na me ko kwa honum. Na makwasra Madame for. Me ko kwa. Oh, me de me this one kasa because pani na makwa obi. Ana afi so me bo me ho ban. Me ohro me nsa, me use hand sanitizer ni bi. Me use bi. Enti no me corona no enhyehyɛ no me di so pepepe ma boa me ho aboa me ho bibia ye set ana me de ko bibia ye fine.
From Circle, Marion Akwe and Abena Bright report for Pan-African Television News. Still on the Easter celebration, the celebration of Easter, a festival which is marked annually by Christians, has been affected by the coronavirus pandemic. Now, the news team went to town to interact with a section of the public how they intend to celebrate the season in the midst of COVID-19 restrictions. Festival which commemorates the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead is spiced with activities performed by Christians. Others have also chosen to feast and make merry during the period by traveling to places of fun and entertainment. But this festive season appears to be a drab one, with the restrictions on COVID-19 in full force, which has elicited mixed reactions. Some people who took turns to speak on the issue shared varied opinions. A seller of menswear, Moses Appel, cautioned celebrants to be mindful of themselves and adhere strictly to the protocols on COVID-19. Kwesi Amponsa attributed the downturn in business activity to effect of the pandemic.
That be the matter where I want you to talk, Charlie. If you had, I swear, if you had. So we beg the government, make it cool down things for us, cause you know we easy. Every day say we know they know they buy, so how we go get money? You know they buy the system in make what everybody no get money. So how we go fee? We know if you come on if you mention price and go tell us every day high, but if the system they cool no, go get some small money where you go enjoy some. But and I want to the COVID to his parts.
His view was equally shared by Efia Eja.
Na we dey say yare coronavirus into the journey nye kra by madasa ya deda entohe na we ni sane sane ekoninti manye hampa ende mankan me bo by madasa.
Comfort Apia said her decision was to stay at home and celebrate with her family.
It's the COVID-19. Me ni baby akọ obetimi a unu fama obetimi bibi kakra ofie say be ya ukọ out na obekọ out nso wo say wo hye nwusu yie be he say wo be hye nose mask bibi aka ma say be ya onkofo how bia enye de onkofi.
Now, the Ghana Police Service has come out with some security steps taken to ensure safety and security during the Easter festivities. According to the service, they are putting up measures to ensure that this year's Easter festivities will be celebrated in compliance with COVID-19 restrictions.
In Accra on preparations to ensure safety, the Director of National Operations, ACP Kwesi Ano Ahin, hinted that the service will be deploying officers across the country to maintain peace.
We're going to deploy a lot of personnel. All our office staff will be out there to provide security, including our patrol teams. And most of these people will be in mufti. They will be in plain clothes. So when you don't see uniformed personnel, don't think that we don't have police officers around. They are going to be in patrol and they monitor the activities on the ground.
ACP Kwesi Ofori, Director of Operations for the Greater Accra Regional Command, listed some beaches that have been earmarked for possible public gatherings during the festivity and warned the public to stay away from such facilities.
One area that is of concern to the Accra Regional Command are the beaches. You know, we have a large and long track of beaches across the country in the southern end. And in Accra, we've identified beaches like Okurobite Beach, Bojo, Dansuman, Glefe, Mensagini, Independence Square, the Rivera beaches, Nungwa, Teshi, and Sakumono beaches, stretching to our nearest region, Tema, up to Adan. And we vowed to make sure that we saturate the beaches with our personnel and forces.
On his part, the commanding officer of the Motor Transport and Traffic Directorate of the Police Service, DCOP Martin Teye, indicated that officers of the division will be stationed at vantage points to check drunk driving and other related activities.
Yes, we would populate the streets with MTTB personnel to check drink or drunk driving. And the strategy is that we would at vantage points stop stop the motoring public to check a few things. And some of these few things are either whether you are drunk or you are yourself. You are not being driven by a lawyer. A lawyer in quotes, I mean, you're not taking any intoxicants that will impair your vision. So we will appeal to you to assist us do that. And I know it will inconvenience some of you, but in the interest of the nation, we want to appeal to you to assist us carry this information to them, so that when you stop you, it is not a normal stop. We want to do a few checks on you.
Commanding Officer for Special Weapons and Tactics, SWAT, Chief Superintendent Theodore Omenu, sounded caution to operators of nightclubs and betting centers.
Some of the nightclubs in the night are also breaching this law. They open secretly by the support of some bouncers. They made a place no-go area. When we gather intelligence and we have all those information, we'll make sure we'll bring them to a stop. We want to enjoy a very free and fair Easter season. So, robbery is something that our units will be fighting assiduously to ensure that we bring it to the barest minimum. So, we have also noticed that bet centers have not been taken into consideration. Our youth nowadays convert as most of these bet centers, gambling in football and whatsoever. Without regarding this pandemic that has come to stay with us, so we need to also ensure that we talk to them.
Well, those are some security steps taken by the Ghana Police Service to ensure security and safety during the Easter celebration. Well, as we are celebrating Easter festivities amid the COVID-19 pandemic, let's all try and adhere to the COVID-19 protocols in order to ensure, avoid transmitting the virus to each other. Away from that, road accidents have claimed the lives and maimed thousands of Ghanaians. Available statistics indicate that over 500 lives have been lost between January to February due to the carnage on the roads. In the following report, Makiza Lativa takes a critical look at the causes of the rising number of road carnage on our roads.
In Ghana, road traffic accidents remain a major cause of loss of human lives and properties. Research shows that road accidents in Ghana are caused by a series of factors including faulty vehicles, poor nature of our roads, carelessness of road users, inadequate road signs, inefficiency of the Motor, Traffic and Transport Department, lack of education, gross indiscipline, amongst others. Between January to February 2021, available data indicates that 517 lives have been lost. Out of this figure, motorcycles and tricycles accounted for 212 of the fatalities. This figure is a sharp increment to fatalities recorded between the same period in 2020. This has raised concerns and a call to action to stop the carnage on the roads by stakeholders. A conversation with the Director for Planning and Programs at the National Road Safety Authority, David Osafu Adonting, revealed that the global long-term road safety target, which was set for the year 2020, was unattained.
So the intent was that the long-term plan which we are asking of had a target that by the year 2020 would have halved that figure, which means that we're looking at less than 1,000. It was a global declaration.
Okay, declaration.
And so Ghana bought into it. So that by the year 2020, would have halved our deaths on roads by 50%.
So is that the case?
So which meant that we were talking about less than 1,000. But if you look at what is on the screen, you can find that at the end of the year, 2020, we were unable to the next slide, we were unable to hit the figure.
Okay, so it was not achieved, the halving the... Okay.
So we have gone far beyond what we targeted, the global target. I must say that that is not to say that we failed or the framework was not working. It did its part of it. And you know, in every endeavor, there are challenges. This one is looking at the quantitative, something you can measure. But there are so many others that you cannot measure, but you can see some improvement.
He further stated that the lapses in operational mechanisms are causing serious challenges in the fight against road accidents in the country.
Our statistics or our investigation has revealed a lot of lapses in the operational mechanism. For example, it is very common in our investigations that drivers drive for a long distance single-handedly, driving for more than 500 kilometers, driving continuously for 24 hours is very common among these operators.
Which should not be the case.
Which should not be the case.
They do not have backups.
The law requires, and even safe driving practices requires that there should be two drivers for long distances, and nobody was enforcing this particular law or regulation. And so it's one of the things that we are coming up with. In recent times, we issued said directive that operators of passenger transport services must, for long distances, 500 kilometers stretch or above, or 8-hour journeys, must be two drivers. One will have to drive for up to a certain limit. He closes, go to rest, and then the other will take it up to the destination.
More data presented by the NRSA showed that a total of 1,050 persons were killed by motorcycles and tricycles between 2010 to 2020, whilst the trends in crashes between 2010 and 2020 increased from 11,506 to 14,886. The Director of Planning and Programs at the NRSA further urged motorists to avoid reckless driving with the Easter festivities fast approaching.
We should take advantage of this opportunity to advise all motorists, especially our drivers, that the statistics we are now recording, it's not good at all for Ghana. We can do better. So all the rules and regulations that we have given and engaged you on, please comply with.
So on a local front, the Ghana Grid Company, Gridco, is expected to come out with a programmed power outages for Accra and Winneba to run till end of July. This, according to Gridco, is to ensure construction works on its transmission system as a result of increasing demand for power supply. At a press briefing in Accra, Gridco outlined reasons for the power outages, including increasing demand for power supply.
We have had intermittent outages, sometimes transmission lines tripping off from the southwestern part of the country, affecting the entire system, particularly Kumasi. And this culminated, you remember, on March 7th, when the entire system collapsed as a result of cascaded strips which emanated from the western region. Beyond this, Ashanti region, in particular Kumasi, has been experiencing intermittent outages, particularly in the evenings during peak times. And all this is basically because of the fact that our power system has grown in terms of demand. In fact, for the first time this year, we have crossed 3,000 megawatts in terms of demand. Bui Power Authority, or the Bui Hydroelectric Power Plant, happens to be the only power plant which is in the central part of the county. It supplies part of the central part, and the rest of the load is met by generation from down south. Currently, as I'm talking to you now, we have had to shut down the Bui plant because of the low water level in the dam. In view of this, every power that the country requires, wherever, up to Bolga, Tangawa, everything has to come from the coast, from down south, upwards towards the north. Kumasi happens to be the major central point within the system, heavy load. By the time the power gets to Kumasi, the voltage is so low. Okay, when voltages are low, you switch on your lights, it's almost dim. Normally people call it low current. It's actually low voltage. The voltage becomes so low, and if we don't do anything about it to prop up the voltage, the entire system will collapse. So it happens that during the evenings, peak hours, when the voltages are so low, sometimes we've resorted to taking off some feeders, particularly in Kumasi, in order to prop up the voltages. So you have Kumasi continue to experience this outage situation. So we've noted that inherent problem, and there was a partial solution to it, whereby we moved one transformer from Accra to Kumasi. I'm saying partial because that is not the entire solution. There are also bottlenecks within the network in Greater Accra region, where our substations get overloaded. So once in a while, you see overloads and then interruptions. Let me also add that these interruptions are not only due to problems within the transmission network. When you are in your homes, as a customer, you are connected to the distribution network. ECG is bringing power to you. ECG is connected to the transmission network because power is coming through Gridco. And Gridco is bringing all the power from the generating companies. So between you in your homes or in your factories and the generating companies, you are actually physically linked. Any break in this link can result in a power outage. So there can be a problem in the distribution network, in the transmission, or the generation.
Now, the Ghana Grid Company also says it will soon come out with the programmed outages for Accra and Winneba to last till ending of July.
By June, July, when all these projects are being completed, Ghanaians will now enjoy reliable power. But in order for them to be completed, the contractors on these projects have requested for outages. Because as they build, they have to connect it to the current system. The contractors have asked for outages between now and July in order to complete the projects. We are talking of 330,000 volts. In our house, we have only 240 volts, and that can even kill. So they will be coming to us to request these outages. And when this happens, we grant them this outage. It means that some of us will have to go off. We are now working with ECG on the quantum of these outages and how long it will take. And we are also discussing with the contractor to, as much as possible, minimize the duration so that we will have the minimum impact of outages on customers. So we'll be coming to Ghanaians on this. And these outages are going to affect only Accra, I repeat, only Accra and Winneba. It is not nationwide. Pokuase, the 330 came from Abuaze. We are diverting it to Pokuase. And in order for you to divert it, you have to disconnect the 330 kV network. Otherwise, somebody will burn to death. So that is why it's going to happen. So in Kaswa, we are going to connect the existing lines from Cape Coast and Winneba, connect it to the Kaswa substation and continue to Accra. In order to do that, you have to take those lines off, and it will affect supply. So that is why we'll be coming to Accraians and Winnebans and say that these are the outages that are going to happen. It will affect you for a duration, and because by the time we will come out, we will know exactly the amounts and the duration. We would want to inform those who will be affected how it will be done so that they can plan their lives. So please, let us go from this place knowing that these outages will be designed for only Accra and Winneba. They won't affect the rest of the country.
Meanwhile, Energy Minister Matthew Opoku-Prempeh says the outages are not as a result of dirt incurred in the energy sector.
The truth of the matter is that government has put in place a mechanism where every generator, every transmitter, every distributor of electricity is paid something regularly, what we call the cash waterfall mechanism. Government has also introduced, and it will start very soon, a gas clearinghouse where more funds will be made available to the suppliers of the fuel for these generators. The recently passed budget, government has made available a Delta Fund that is also going to contribute to the payment of these debts that are owed. So it's not because of a debt that this power outage is concerned. And I would like to conclude by saying that the challenges that are being faced will definitely sometime lead to maybe a power outage here or there. But this, like the technical people just said, it's not because of a generational problem. Yesterday's power outage, we have been explained to us, was caused by a reduced pressure of the gas that is going to the generator. That could not have been foreseen or planned by anybody. And so because most of our generators are now relying on gas, and gas comes through only a few pipelines to all these generators, and the effect of a gas shortage affects many more generators than if individual plants were being fueled by diesel or crude oil independently. So these are challenges. We have to continuously build the infrastructure and our systems to be able to have a redundancy in the system to minimize these outages. And we hope that Ghanaians would be with us.
Well, you don't need heavens to tell you Doomsaw is back, so let's get our power banks ready. Let's do business after the short breather.
Hello?
Oh, sound.
Okay, wait a minute. Why? My wife comes and send a message. Your face is going to free. Hello? I didn't know. What's happened?
It's a child who's will be a quiet say what? I dare say.
Besides, friend, I'm so used to. My wife is not testing messages here. And our office also. I'm trying to tell you, man. She says, I
mean, so we a guy, Manu, and may young who could look cry. And also wants a family drilling company limited for Kana.
What's the name? Family Drilling Company Limited.
Ye two borehole, biofuel, biogas, swimming pool, plumbing works in Naso, ye be Frey 0240 333-111 and that's 0244-144-822.
Miampa nene. No swimming pool me fee. Me want to. Me be here. Family drilling now what? Family drilling. Me out with
Oh, it's incredible! Bang on target!
Thank you for staying. This is Pan-African News on Pan-African Television. My name is Abena, Dede. Now to the world of business. President of the Ghana Hotels Association, Dr. Edward Aka Jr. has indicated that the restrictions on social gatherings and closure of the country's borders has led to job losses and lack of funds in payment of utilities and taxes in the tourism industry. According to him, the quantum of the tax rate levied on the hotel industry has also severely contributed to the slow pace of their activities.
Ever since the COVID-19 pandemic hit Ghana in March 2020, the economy has suffered as businesses were forced to shut down. Players in the industry also say the introduction of COVID-19 protocols and restrictions also slowed the efficiency of their operations. During the second wave of the pandemic, many hotels struggled to keep their doors open and were unable to rehire all their staff due to shortfalls in the hospitality industry, a situation which Dr. Edward Aka Jr. believes could be best addressed if the industry is aggressively focused on marketing to attract people to visit their facilities.
On our industry, it's common knowledge now. I mean, we were one of the worst hit businesses, and it's affected us in various ways. The hotel industry, you know, thrives on movement of people. I mean, you build a structure and then have your facilities, rooms and restaurant and all those things. And it takes people to come to your facility to enjoy the services, and then they pay something in return. That's what the business is all about. So anything that stops people from coming to your facility, okay, stops the business. And that's exactly what happened with the first wave, like you put it. Remember that the borders were also closed. There was restriction on social gathering, from funerals to conferences and even eating in the restaurant. There was also a lockdown. So all these prevented people or stopped people from visiting hotels.
He further called on government to support the hotel industry to flourish and expand private sector partnerships to promote hotel business as a stimulus for economic recovery from the COVID-19 crisis.
Government should support the ministry, support the minister, okay, to create that enabling environment that will help the hotels to flourish.
Now, Edward Aka is the president of the Ghana Hotels Association. He is calling on the government to revive the Hospitality Association. Now, Secretary of Ghana Tuna Association, Retse Amafio, has called for prudent management of the fisheries sector as a natural resource for Ghana to derive enormous benefit from. He, in a conversation with David Aton on Pan-African Television's Hot News, he further revealed that investing in it as a food resource to feed the populace was rather a misplaced priority.
Fisheries is a natural resource sector. It is not a food sector. You see, the thinking that fish is food is one of the reasons we are not able to manage it the way we should. Fish is a natural resource. It lives in a natural environment, and so we need to look at it as a natural resource and manage it as a natural resource that has a right to live, exist, and reproduce. That is when we can feed on it.
So you have a problem with, let's say, the National Farmers Day, and you have the fishery category.
So when you started this, we're giving fishermen cutlasses. So that is a perception.
To go and farm on the sea.
Yes, in Wellington boots. You get it. It tells you our level of understanding of the sector. We need to have a sector that is managed. If fisheries is if you look at the Constitution, fisheries is a natural resource sector. We need to manage it as a natural resource sector. And so if we are managing it as a natural resource sector, the approach will be different.
That's all for business. International news is next. Hundreds of Tunisian protesters, citizens, faced violent action from the security forces in the city of Tatoun in southern Tunisia on Tuesday, March 30, while demonstrating against unemployment in the region and the government's inaction to provide them with jobs, Middle East Eye reported. The protesters were reportedly trying to enter a government building in the city with the intention of staging a sit-in to demand the resignation of a governor. The police blocked them by firing tear gas canisters and subsequently chased them away, breaking up the protest. The protesters, in retaliation, threw stones at the police and burnt ties on the road. The protesters were demanding the government to implement a long overdue deal from 2017, which promised to create jobs in the oil and infrastructure sectors in the region to tackle the issue of unemployment. The deal was reached after widespread protests in 2017 in the Tatoun and Kabylie provinces against the acute shortage of jobs in the oil and natural gas production sectors of the region, which were dominated by French company Perenco and Austrian company OMV. However, the government has reportedly failed to implement the deal in the last 4 years. As a result, the unemployment rate in the region has risen drastically, currently at 30%, among the highest in the country. Tuesday's protests were the latest in a series of protests over the last few years against various economic and political issues affecting Tunisia. Widespread protests against the deteriorating economy and government's neglect and apathy towards the poor, working class and marginalized sections have been regularly taking place in the country. Protests against state repression and violent crackdowns by the security forces have also been registered. The Tunisian government has tried to suppress these protests through intimidation, arrest and state persecution of thousands of protesters. At least one protester was killed in the month of January. Even as millions of Tunisians continue to suffer, the government and the political class has been engaged in political squabbles over cabinet reshuffles and the sharing of executive power. The recent highly public feud between Tunisian President Kais Saied and Prime Minister Hichem Michichi threatened to plunge the country into further socio-economic and political turmoil. Credit to our international partners, People's Dispatch for international stories. Now let's do some sports. The Confederation of African Football has announced date for the next African Cup of Nations tournament. The 24-team event was scheduled for January 2021 in Cameroon, but was postponed for a year as part of international effort to stem the spread of the coronavirus pandemic.
The 23-year-old made history in March by shattering the record for the first time ever in the history of a 100-meter race by a Ghanaian. Azamati broke Leonard Mills' record during the Texas relay, where he clocked a time of 9.97 seconds. He was also part of the 4x100 relay team, which won the gold at the 2019 African Games held in Rabat, Morocco. The feat enabled him to book a place in the 2020 Olympic Games alongside fellow sprinters Joseph Paul Amoa and Nadia Ike.
Now, Ghanaian sprinter Benjamin Azamati has been named the Male Athlete of the Month at the West Texas A&M University.
The final 2 rounds of qualifying matches have been played to determine the last few members of next year's tournament. Even though the disease continues to rack up victims, the Confederation of African Football, CAF, which organizes the Cup of Nations tournament, said it would run between 9th January and 6th February at 6 venues in the cities of Yaoundé, Douala, Garoua, Limbe, and Bafoussam. On Tuesday, Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde secured their berth. Sierra Leone or Benin should have joined them, but their Group L match in Freetown was cancelled amid acrimony. The furor erupted after Sierra Leone officials said 5 of the Benin team had the coronavirus. Tournament chiefs say the match will be played during the next international window in June. Benin, hoping to emulate their surge to the quarterfinals in 2019, need a point to advance, while Sierra Leone must win to play at the competition for the first time since 1996. The draw for the 6 groups will take place on June 25th.
Entertainment news is next.
It's incredible! Bang on target!
Each year, Ghanaians celebrate Easter. Some go to church, while others to places to have fun and enjoy the holiday. But the question is, do Ghanaians really know what Easter is? Well, we went to the street to sample the views of people on what Easter is.
Easter is about celebration of the festival.
Yeah, Easter, what I know is like remember the death of Christ, like Jesus Christ. So that's what I know about celebrating Easter.
Oh, Easter, the minimum found some Easter be a year for a qua, ye twad.
Well, this is how we draw curtains on the Easter holiday edition of Pan-African News here on Pan-African Television. My name is Ivy Abena Dede Nakite. Happy Easter to everyone.